All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Everything Business. All right, and as was promised, I will be looking at the 2024 POA Paper 1. Right, the answers are there. I'll be going through quickly. If you don't catch what I say, then you can always pause and rewind the video. Right. Thanks for those who are showing support so far. Right, big shout out to all the persons who are showing support. But let's get right into it because I know that Paper 2 was difficult for some persons. Many persons had issues with Paper 2. Looking at other content creators, they are saying the same thing as it relates to how they set Paper 2. But we're not going to cry over spilled milk. Let us now turn our attention to Paper 1. I heard somebody said, in Paper 1 we trust. Well, I agree. It is not over yet, right? It is just 75% of the way. And this 25% that is to come, we can maximize it. So let's get right into it. So the multiple choice would value 60%, well, not 60%, 60 marks out of the 200 marks that is available, right? And you want to try and get as much of those 60 as possible, if not all the 60. Question 1. And if you're looking at how I do it, I some of them that can show working, I just show the working out so that you guys can see what I do. All right, and you can understand it. So, question 1, a trader had an opening capital of 3,900 if his joins were 900 and his closing capital was 4,860. What was his net profit? Right? The correct answer here would have been C, and you see how I get the 1,860. Question 2, the main internal users of accounting information are managers, and the key there is internal users. Everything else is outside the company, right? So that is the key, that is the clue from that question. Question 3, loans, creditors, and accrued expenses are all examples of, you all know that, liabilities. Number 4, in which of the following financial statements would directors' remuneration be found? This is company account, and it is in the profit and loss because it's an expense. Question 5, for which of the following purposes are partnership formed, right? All of them, right? 1, 2, and 3. Item 6 refers to the following accounting information. The total value of capital is, they're trying to find out if you know how to find capital. So capital equal assets minus liability. So I went ahead and labeled them. The A stand for asset, the L stand for liability. Excuse me, right? So 36,000 is the correct answer, A, right? Question 7, what feature of a partnership implies that each partner can be called upon to liquidate personal property in order to pay business debts? Personal property is the key, unlimited liability. That's POB stuff, right? Question number 8. In a limited liability company, which of the following groups of persons is paid first, right, after net profit is determined? And you know, preference shareholders, which is correct. That is D. Which of the following are profitability ratio? 1 and 2 only. Current ratio is a liquidity ratio, so it's not a profitability ratio. Number 10, which of the following items are examples of current liabilities, right? It is 2 and 3. Mortgage is not a current liability because it's a long-term liability. So the answer there is C, all right? 11, POC, as a manufacturing business, the cost of raw material used is 1,900, rates and rent total 2,000, factory rates and rent total 2,000. The number of units produced is 640. I would ask you to calculate the cost of one unit, all right? Now you would add the 1,900, which is the cost of raw material, plus the factory rents and rate. You would not use the rent and rate here because that would relate to non-factory. So therefore, it would not be included in the manufacturing account to calculate production cost. So you calculate the production cost, which is 3,900, which is by adding, right? And then you divide it by 640 to get $6. Number 12. So the answer there is B. Number 12, S&S Enterprise bought a motor vehicle valuing 250,000 to deliver goods. Three years after the purchase, the motor vehicle was still being recorded at the original value. Which of the following accounting concepts was not applied? The prudence concept wasn't applied. Well, the prudence concept states that we should not overestimate the value of our asset, right? And the fact that they did not adjust the depreciation for this asset, right, or they did not allow for depreciation for this asset, it would have meant that the asset would have been overstated in the balance sheet, which is not in accordance with the prudence concept. Verse, verse, question 13. Which of the following is true of a credit entry? Well, the answer there is D. It decreases accounts receivable. Items 14 to 16 refer to the following information taken from a cash book. They give it a cash book there. Then question 14 says the opening balance on the cash book indicates that the opening balance indicates that the firm has $2,500. Well, the correct answer there is B, which is an overdraft. Yes. 15. Which of the following best describes the entries on the 8th of May, 2023? It is a contra entry. If you look at it, May 8th, it's on both sides. That's a contra entry. Number 16. Which is the closing cash balance, right? The closing cash balance, all they're asking you to do is the balance of the cash account. So you add it up and then you subtract. You add up the debit column, right? And you subtract the credit column, right? That's easy. So it's 1,750 minus 150, right? So the correct answer there is B. Moving on, number 17. A motor vehicle was credited from AG Motors for use in the business. How should this be recorded, right? You debit the motor vehicle, credit AG Motors. D is the correct answer right there. Item 18 refers to the following information. Calculation to determine gross profit percentage is as follows. So they give you the information there, and then they ask you, what does the 529,800 represent? That would be total sales, and I put the formula at the side right there to help you, right? So it's gross profit over sales multiplied by 100. So the bottom number would be sales. We're at number 19. The credit balance brought forward on P. John's revenue account is $25, and this means that for the year 25 in rent revenue is owed or accrued, right? So the correct answer there is B. Number 20. Which of the following items can be used to adjust the cash book balance before the bank reconciliation statement is prepared? The correct answer there is B. Direct transfers and dishonored checks, right? So if you look at them, right, direct transfer is definitely in it. So that would take out C and D, right? But bank lodgement would be used to create the bank recon. So it has to be B. 21. The debit side of a trial balance exceeds the credit side by 1,200. A suspense account should be therefore open with a balance of, now this is tricky, it says that the debit side is exceeding the credit side by 1,200. So it means that the credit side is short. So you're going to put the information on the same side that is short in the suspense account, which is 1,200 on the credit side in the suspense account. B is the correct answer. 22. Money spent by a company on the purchase or improvement of non-current assets is referred to as, and I just right there, non-current assets mean fixed assets, right? It's referred to as capital expenditure. Item 23 refers to the following information, and they give you a table there, and they ask you to calculate the rate of stock turnover. Now, the rate of stock turnover, the formula is cost of goods sold divided by average stock, right? Average stock is really opening stock plus closing stock divided by 2, right? The cost of goods sold is literally right there. You don't have to calculate that. The only thing you need to do is to calculate average stock. Don't mind the sales figure, that is a distractor. All right, so it is 1.081. Item 24 refers to the following information relating to a trader, right? So they ask what amount will appear in the purchases in the trading account. Total the amount that would occur as purchases, or the amount that would come as purchases in the trading account, would be total purchases, right? So you would need to you would have your cash purchases for the year and the amount paid to supplier. The amount paid to supplier, right? The cash paid to supplier would indicate your what credit purchases, right? So it is 20,800. The correct answer there is C. Item 25 refers to the following information taken from the manufacturing account of CID's Company Limited. The cost of raw material used in the production is, right? And so you see my work in there. It is A is the correct answer, right? And you may say, well, sir, why didn't you use factory overheads? Well, they're talking about the cost of raw material that is used, right? So we would have to subtract the direct wages from your prime cost to get that 23,850. A is the correct answer. 26, question 26. Which of the following would be treated as a prime cost in a manufacturing account? There's only one answer there. It's not even close, right? A is the correct answer. 27. Payments made to committee members in a cooperative is known as a honorarium. Yes, so that is right there. That one is also not even close. What is the total of the float based on this petty cash book that is given here, right? The float, right? 15 plus 85 equal 100. So the correct answer there is D. And you say, sir, how you get 15? Here they are over here. So, right? This is the balance on the account, and the petty cashier was reimbursed $85. So that is how you know that the float was $100. Then question 29, the $85 in cash, which was received on the 1st of August, would represent what? The restoration of the impress, right? Which is B. 30, by how much should the petty cashier be reimbursed at the end of August? All right. So if you look at the cash, the petty cash, you would all just add up all of these. When you add up all of these right here, you get 99. So you know that this cashier would have spent $99. So I know many persons going to run and say, oh, one. No, it is 99. Whatever you spend, that is what you're going to get back. All right. Moving on. 31. A public limited company issued a prospectus offering the shares described in the following table for sale at par value. Par value simply means original value, right? Yeah, so the issue was fully subscribed, which means that everybody buy out everything, right? How much capital did the company raise? So as I put these X's there, so it's 2 multiplied by 200, which is 400,000, 5 multiplied by 10,000, which is 50,000, so it's 450,000. D is the correct answer. 32. The owner of a business does not keep proper accounting records, but she knows her capital was $40,000 on the 1st of January and 85,000 on the 31st of January of December, sorry. She withdrew $1,000 in inventory during the year. What is her profit for the year? Now, if you remember from your incomplete records topic in accounts, this is a formula that we normally use to calculate closing capital. So closing capital equal opening capital plus profit minus drawings. So you could just transpose this formula. So profit would be equal to now opening capital minus closing capital plus drawings. So you work that out and you get B. 46,000 is the correct answer. Item 33 refers to the following information relating to the salary difference of different categories of workers, right? The direct labor cost is A, $6,000. There's only one direct cost here, machine operator. Everything else here would be indirect costs or costs outside the factory, right? Item 34 refers to the following account. So we have an appropriation account here. What conclusion, sorry, could be drawn from the appropriation account above? Well, the only conclusion that we see that profit is made, right? And we see that there's a positive, when I say positive, I mean a good balance brought forward, $894. So one, A, the company is engaged in a profitable enterprise, which is true. 35, wages are usually paid weekly. It's weekly wage, monthly salary. That's all? Right. 36, on the 1st of June, P. Shark, a sole proprietor, owed creditors owed creditors 4,300. During the month, he paid, sorry, 13,100 by check. At the end of the month, his balance owing is 2,700. Cash purchases for the month were 3,500. What is P Shark's total purchases for the month? So I normally just make up my little creditors control here, put in the opening balance, closing balance, the amount paid for the year, and then balance it off. This balancing figure that you see circle here, that would have been the credit purchases, but it says total purchases. So total purchases is credit purchases plus cash purchases. So 11,500 plus 3,500 equal 15,000. So that is the correct answer there is C. 37. Mr. Allen invested 20,000, Mr. Brown and Mr. Cable invested 5,000 each, whatever, right? The partnership agreement is silent on the item of loss, although profits are to be split in the ratio 2 to 2 to 1 in favor of Allen Brown and Cable, respectively. Don't let that show you off. The fact that they say that they have a profit sharing ratio, the profit sharing ratio goes for the loss as well. So the profit sharing ratio is the same as the loss sharing ratio, right? So they're just trying to show you off with the sentence that talk about the partnership agreement is silent on losses. No, right? It's the same thing. So this is my workout here. When you're working out ratio, you add up all the items in the ratio, you get 5. So Mr. Cable is 1 out of 5 multiplied by 100, you get 200. So that is B. All right. 38. Which of the following ratio describe the liquidity position of a business acid test? That is the only ratio that could work right here. No other ratio could work, right? Because everything else is really a profitability. Well, a profitability ratio. You have net profit and profitability. Well, that's not even a ratio. I mean, you know what I mean? Right. So the inventory turnover just shows how often you buy stock, right? So that wouldn't work. The only one that could work is A. Items 39 and 40 refers to the following information provided by K as sole trader. We're given the information here. What is the credit sales for the month? So as you see, I like to draw up my debtors control account, right? And I put all the information in, right? So my opening balance there, I put in my closing balance there, right? And then all the other items that would be in the credit side of the control account, and then a balance of the account to get 8,800, which would be on the debit side. That wouldn't be our what? Credit sales. So it's right there. B is the correct answer. On the 31st of May, it was discovered that customer check of 150 has been dishonored. What will K's updated sales ledger control account be? If I have a dishonored check, it's going to increase the amount that your debtors owe to you. So therefore, the balance on their debtors control is going to increase by $150. So the closing balance is 4,000. So you just add $150 to it. D is the correct answer, 4,150. Question 41. Rose contributed 7,000 in cash and a motor vehicle worth 3,000 to a partnership. Rose's contribution to the partnership would be recorded in the journal, right? I didn't realize. Didn't do this one. I didn't even realize that I didn't do this. All right, so Rose's contribution in the partner. All right, so for 41, Rose contributed $7,000 in cash and a motor vehicle worth $3,000 to a partnership. Rose's contribution to the partnership would be recorded in the journal. The correct answer there is C, right? It would debit the cash and the motor vehicle, credit Rose capital account. 42, on the 2nd of March 2023, L. Land bought goods worth $630 on credit. He received a 3% trade discount on this amount, right? The invoice also stated 2% if you pay in 20 days, between 20 days and 30 days, right? If he pays before 20 days and also before 30 days. So how much would he pay for the goods? The correct answer there is B, $598.88. 43, in a partnership agreement, which of the following transaction is compulsory? D is the correct answer. Share of profit or losses. That will have to happen. All right, so we're moving on. 44, to which account should depreciation of office machines be transferred? Profit and loss. Depreciation is an expense, that's why it comes in profit and loss. Items 45 and 46 refers to the following data relating to the balances for Mary's dress shop at the end of the current accounting period. What is the acid test ratio for the period? Remember that acid test ratio, right? It comes from the current ratio. The current ratio is current assets minus current assets divided by current liabilities. So the acid test ratio is really current assets minus stock divided by current liabilities. So you will get 5.5 to 1. The current ratio is D6 to 1, right? Item 47 refers to the following information. Montego Limited calculates its allowance for doubtful debt at a rate of 2% of debtors. What will the accounting entry for recording the allowance for doubtful debts incurred in 2022? Now, if you look at it, in 2021, debtors was 6,000, and in 2022, debtors moved down to 5,000. So the movement is 1,000, right? So your debtors reduced by 1,000. So you calculate 2% of the 1,000, you get 20. And all provisions account are credited. So you're going to credit the provision for bad debt account and debit the profit and loss because it's it's an increase, so it's an expense. 48, a debt is considered to be bad if the account receivable B fails to pay, right? Yeah. Item 49 and 50 refer to the following bank account of a business, right? So you're given a bank account. In the record of the bank account, the opening balance represents an asset, which is correct. 50, what is the balance carried down at the end of the period, right? Debit 800, sir. How you get debit 800? The balance be on the debit side. How come you have a debit? But if you balance of the account, you realize right? That the debit side add up to what? 16,600. The credit side add up to what? 17,400. Obviously, the debit side is less than the credit side. So the balance carried on is obviously going to be on the debit side, and it's a debit of $800, right? So make sure you do that. Don't up and jump and go right. Credit 800. Item 51 refers to the following list of balances, right? Based on the information above, the working capital amount is, and then working capital is what? Current assets minus current liability. I went ahead and I wrote the current assets there and the current liabilities there. So you just do the math and you get B, 6,500. Item 52 refers to the following information for Jesse Manufacturing Limited. What is the cost of production for Jesse Manufacturing Limited? I just want to go ahead and tell you that these two items at the bottom here, you don't even need them. So I cross them out, right? They are distractors. So you add up all of these, your prime cost, factory overhead, opening work in progress, and you subtract closing work in progress, and you get 37,000. C is the correct answer. 53, if revenue expenditure is overstated, right, which of the following items will be affected? Revenue expenditure, right, is like purchases. You understand? Yeah, so if you overstate it, then the profit is going to be affected, right? 54, so B is the correct answer for that one. 54, the total of the return outwards journal is transferred to D, credit side of the returns outwards account. Items 55 refers to the following information for KD Limited, right? What is the closing capital of KD Limited? So using but the same incomplete records formula, closing capital equal opening capital plus profit minus drawings equal 1,000. A is the correct answer. Item 56 and 57 refers to the following information, which shows receipts and payments for our youth group. What is the opening bank balance? You may say, sir, how would you do this? Well, I just went ahead and create my bank account, put the information that's supposed to be on the different sides, and then I just balance it off. So the difference is what? 2,400. B is the correct answer. What is the total capital expenditure? Right? Capital expenditure, $6,000. The purchase of the photocopier, that is the capital expenditure, right? When I buy a fixed asset, that is the capital expenditure. 58, an asset purchase for 1,000, depreciate at a rate of 10% per annum using the reducing balance method. What is the value of the asset at the beginning of the third year? So there's my working at the side. The correct answer is C, 810, right? 59, the following information relates to a privately managed charity, right? Which is the charity's closing bank balance at the end of the year. I went ahead and I created my bank account, right? And the balance CD here is, it cut off, right? It didn't capture it when I was doing it, but the correct answer here is 11,000 B, all right? And then the last question, inventory was purchased from M. Smith on credit for 2,400, but posted to N. Smith account. Which of the following journal entry is correct? D is the correct answer. You would debit N. Smith to remove the money from his account, and you put it where it's supposed to be, credit M. Smith's account, right? And there you have it. That is the end of the 2024, right, exam. Please let me know what you think in the comment section, right? I will try my best to do some more. I know that POB is coming up. You can stay tuned for some POB videos. All right. Take care. Walk good.